So, dear guests, let me first introduce myself. I'm Kristina Zabolotska, the CEO of School of C. We really appreciate that you were able to attend our meeting live stream on Facebook and YouTube. Let me remind you that you can ask any questions during our presentation. Please do it in the comments section. I'd like to begin by introducing our coach, Rob Napoli, entrepreneur and brand expert. He's also a professor and a curator of C-level program in our School of C. Rob will be giving a masterclass on how to go from 0 to 1 for entrepreneurs and early stage business and to get your first 1,000 clients. For a startup, it's really important. Getting your first 1,000 clients is more challenging than the next 10,000 clients. And after the masterclass, Rob will tell you about our program and answer the questions related to it. So, Rob, could you please begin with the topic of today's very special masterclass? It sounds really intriguing.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me get involved, and I love getting to be involved with School of C. So excited for y'all here. All right. So we're going to cover a couple different things today in acquiring our first 1,000 customers. And the reason for that is we're really trying to drive the fact that there are different aspects that we need to think about as we go. It's really easy to think that this market is, the markets that we play in are so big and we just put something out there and it's going to just work. So as the introduction said, my name is Rob Napoli. I've worked with over 500 founders across 30 plus countries. I love talking about entrepreneurship, innovation, and helping companies scale. I have a podcast on entrepreneurship called The Bare Necessities of Entrepreneurship, where I interview entrepreneurs from around the world to talk about why they got into entrepreneurship, less about their business and more about who they are. This is what I do. And if you're ever in New York City, I'm still on the hunt for the best whiskey bar in Manhattan. And I'm always loving recommendations or taking people out for great whiskey. I'll give you this slide deck later. This is the longer version of my background if anybody wants to see it. I will give this to you afterwards. For those out there listening, I know it's tough to read all this. It's a little fast, especially because I talk fast as an American with my English. You'll get the deck afterwards. Some of this information is meant for you to read and digest later. But as we think about our first 1,000 customers and how do we acquire that, we first need to understand who our target market in ICP is. So I want to talk briefly about defining that. We're going to talk a little about where to acquire and how to approach online. We're going to talk about the value of our brand, both personally and professionally. We're going to talk about creating at scale. And then I have a bunch of tips and tricks and additional resources in the deck for you. We probably won't go over them in this session, but you'll get those. You can go through it. There's a lot of great information, and I love to share good tools and reading for this stuff. So I know that if you chat in questions at any time, please, but I want you to think, who said this, right? An idiot with a plan can beat a genius without a plan. And maybe you do or don't know, but it's a very kind of famous man that we know as the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, right? And the idea behind this is we can have a great idea. We can have the best product on the market and a big market opportunity. But if we don't have a plan of how we attack it, we don't really understand, we're going to fail. And it's what I see happen all the time when people come into this, especially the US market, but just launching a business in general. We try to sell to everybody. So a few key terms that I use that may not be as common. ICP. This is our ideal customer persona. This is the buyer. When I talk about ICP, I talk about decision maker and champion. Decision maker writes the check. Champions anybody else in the sales process, right? USPs, unique selling propositions. These change depending on who you're selling to. These change depending on what market you're going after. And these aren't time and money. 9 times out of 10, time and money are byproducts of the real pain you're solving. And you don't want to be the cheapest in the market forever, so you don't want to use that as a true unique selling proposition. When we talk about prospects, those are our target persona. A prospect is somebody we want to reach out to and connect with. That could be a buyer. A lead is somebody who's interacted in some way, right? They've responded to an email, responded to a cold call, accepted a demo call. And a qualified lead is somebody that we've actually qualified. We've gone through a good customer discovery process. They now are interested, and we're in actual steps of potential contract negotiation, the sales process. And it's really important because many times early, we look at everybody as a qualified lead and they're not. It's really important to know what's the difference between a lead and a qualified lead are in your sales pipeline, so you can actually be thinking about what is and how to close these first deals. So let's start with defining our market. What problem are you solving? That's a big question. Why did you start this? Is it an accessory or an accessory product? During the pandemic, a lot of products and tools and services that were accessory, that were nice to have, no longer exist. Because when a company cuts its budget, are you an accessory product or an accessory? An example, necessary is a CRM, right? Company needs a CRM, that's the way they live. Accessory might be hunter helper and paying for that lead gen service that's added stuff, right? Hunter is an accessory, nice to have, but when money's tight, you cut it out. Who are you solving this for? Who is the person that gets benefit from your tool, your technology, your product, or your service? Then what makes you different? A lot of times we like to say, oh, our AI, our proprietary technology, something, right? What really makes you different? What really makes you stand out? So as you're defining your market, you need to ask yourselves these questions, right? Why are you the person, team, company to solve it? Are you creating this product, service, tool because of a very personal problem that you overcame or you had when you were in your role somewhere else? Is it because you think it's the right thing to fix? Why? And then what does your team have to be the one? And when you're defining your problem, you may be able to sell to the whole market. You may be able to sell to all these different markets, but don't try to take it all at once. Remember, riches and niches. Start small. Pick one market segment, couple ICPs, right? Test it, develop it, and go from there. In order to define your target market, you need to really create an ideal customer profile. Who is the person that is most likely to buy your product or service? What are their characteristics? Is it a VP of sales? Maybe the product that you create helps frontline sales reps do their job better. Cool, that's who benefits. But the VP of sales buys. The VP of sales may not always know why that frontline product or service is going to benefit them. Well, hey, our product helps make your frontline reps more productive, allowing them to do more work with less time, in terms of closing more deals, which ultimately impacts your revenue number. So our tool helps your team be more effective and efficient, driving more revenue, which helps you and your teams overall drive more revenue. Right? So we need to understand who and why and what benefit. You need to do product market research. There's not a single company that I've met that doesn't have competitors on the market. So conduct market research. Look at your competitors, research them. What do they do well? What do they not do well? What makes you different? Reassess your offerings, right? You may have a great tool that you want to take to market, but once you realize what the market wants or needs, you might reassess it. You might think a little bit different of how you take it to market. And there's tons of existing market data, customer data out there. Leverage it. If you're going to get your first 1,000 clients, if you're going to get your first client, you have to know this. You have to understand this. You have to make sure you take the time to get to know and iterate feedback loops, talk to people. So once we kind of have an idea of who our ICP and our market segment is, say, VP of sales and mid-market companies. How do we approach them? Well, there's a number of different ways. Right? We want to run email sequencing. Yes, I know we all get blasted with messages, but email is still a great way to test and reach out to the market. And it's not one long email. Hi, my name is Rob Napoli, CEO and founder of Rise Up Coaching. Rise Up Coaching does this. You've already lost them. No one cares. They can see that in my signature. It needs to be short. It needs to be punchy. It needs to have value. Hey, Christina, are you looking to expand into the US market? Have you thought about how you can launch this product, XYZ, that you have in a new market? If so, we're here to help. We think that this could do X, Y, and Z. That type of message is going to get much more responses. It's also your chance to educate. No one knows you, right? If you're new and trying to get your first 1,000 clients, no one knows your company. This is your chance to educate, get eyeballs on it. Make sure the content is good and tight. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social channels you have, Telegram, leverage it, connect, get involved with groups. People buy from people. Get to know them. Listen to what they're saying. Get involved in the conversation. Pick up the phone. Call people. Ask them if they're interested in something like this. Ask them for a few minutes of their time to do research. If there was a tool that did X, Y, Z, would you buy it? What are some of the challenges, right? Create content. Just because you have a website and just because you think the market's big and just because you think your product is better, unless you tell people why it's better and how they can leverage it and you give them value, no one cares. You need to provide value into the markets that you serve. You do this through content. If you want to get your first 10 clients, create valuable content and establish credibility. Ways to do this. Blogging, right? If you have a new company and a small website and you need eyeballs on your website, a great way to do that is through blogs, SEO, creating great content. You're probably thinking, Rob, that's a lot of extra work. I got to do product development. I got to do customer testing. I'm selling for my own company. How do I create content? Glad you asked. One, there's tons of great content writers for super cheap on like Fiverr and Upwork. There's a book that every entrepreneur should read. It's called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. It's how to unlock your creativity. It's 10 things no one told you about being creative, and it's amazing for entrepreneurs. Things like stealing like an artist. What are the 15 most top popular topics in your industry right now? Every one of your competitors will probably have a blog or post about it. Go find it and create it from your tone of voice. Don't copy and paste it, right? But you don't need to think about new articles or new things to talk about when it's already there for you. And you can do competitive analysis research that shows you what are the topics that people are looking for in your industry, so you can create content around that. Videos. Content is king. We live in a very digital, hyper-connected age. People buy from people, not brands. Use video as a strategy to show benefits, value, product, service. Show them why they should work with you instead of sending a cold email, send a video, right? Hey, Christina, hope you're doing well. I'm reaching out because I think that your product is amazing. I think we can help you scale that into a new market. I kind of just sent you an email, but I wanted to shoot you this short video because I would be excited to work with you and have a conversation. My calendar is below. Would love to have 15 minutes to talk about your goals and see if not me helping, who I can connect you with to help you scale. Something simple like that changes the game. We are flooded with messages. Events, something like this, a live stream or a webinar, right? Get yourself out there, create a bit of a community, engage with the community, go to events, talk to people. You can run paid ads. I think that's something that you do after you get a few customers in the door. But if you're B2C focused out the gate, testing paid social and paid ads is great across Google and things like that. If you're B2B, that comes later. Ebooks are also great content, and get involved on social. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in the value of your brand. Engage in the communities that you want to serve. I threw this in there for y'all and you'll get a copy of it. But when you're writing messages to reach out to your first 1,000 clients and you're trying to break through the noise, this is how you write a good message, right? It's got to be relevant, concise, compelling, make them curious, have clear call to action. If you want to know how to do sequencing, there's some resources. In the US market, for example, it takes 12 to 16 touch points to have a meaningful conversation. Let's say that again. It takes 12 to 16 touch points to start a meaningful conversation with a prospect. Doesn't mean 12 emails or 12 phone calls or 12 texts. That means 4 emails. It means LinkedIn connection or Facebook connection. It means you engaging with content. Now, depending on what markets you're serving, some markets don't want to be reached out to more than 2 times, 3 times. It just depends. So you have to kind of figure that out. But understand that it takes a number of touch points in different ways to get them to want to talk to you, right? And validate credibility. So I put some books, I put some resources in here so you can kind of work on creating a great first touch message sequence. Test. To get your first 1,000 clients, it's a science and an art. Experiment with your messaging. Subject lines, value props, links, time of week, all those things. I know this isn't the minutia of it, but this is really important early on. To get 1,000 clients, you have to reach out to a lot of people. And if you take a big list and you take one stock message and you just blast it out, you seriously decrease the chances of you getting meaningful conversations started. So run tests and start small. And everything you do to get your first 1,000 clients, you need to provide value and solve a problem. Every interaction, every outreach, every touch point needs to be relevant and to the point. Don't make it about you. It's not about you. You're the new kid on the block. It's got to be about them and how you can help them be better. Don't spray and pray. Everyone is unique, right? You got to find a way to personalize and personalize, right? You got to find ways to really connect with your prospects, especially early. Let's use Nike, for example. We all buy from Nike. We buy it from Nike because it's one of the best brands in the world. Whether you love Phil Knight in the book Shoe Dog, whether you're a Michael Jordan fan, whether you're a LeBron fan, whether you're a Tiger Woods fan, there's a reason you buy from Nike, right? Nike, just do it. Swoosh. That brand, we all know it immediately. That's not how it was when they first started. It's taken years and years for that brand to gain relevance at that level. We're not Nike. We can't just think our brand is going to scale like that. If you want to win early on as a founder, be the one to reach out. Connect with your prospects and go sell. We're not going to go through this slide, but later on, I'm talking about embracing conversion rates and low conversion rates early. This is for my stats people out there that are really excited about creating more of a process science to it. This is how, if you want to get a goal of $1 million in new business, how you would manage that and what you kind of need based on average outreach campaign numbers, right? If you want to win early, invest in a CRM and track everything. What happens with most startups is that we don't have any sort of CRM. We don't track it. I sell to like 5-10 people and I have no recollection, no real documentation of it. And then I hire Christina on to be my sales rep. And she comes in and I'm like, you need to triple what I did in the next 6 months. If I can do this, you can do it. And she has nothing to look at. She's got no collateral to look at. She's got no context of how you sold the product or service early. And you're setting your team up for failure. So invest and track. If you want to gain your first 1,000 clients, an hour a day needs to be focused on prospecting new business. It's your business, it's your company. You need to put dedicated time, energy, and effort to close your first deals. Never stop filling the top of funnel. And always listen to your customers before selling. You finally get that customer on the phone. I know it's so easy to want to go off and pitch, but how can you pitch them if you don't understand what their problems are, what you're helping solve? Make sure you do good customer discovery. And that's why I believe that every founder should sell early in their company. They understand their customers. They learn their unique selling propositions. They understand the sales cycle. One thing about this is if you're selling into SMBs, small businesses, your average sales cycle is 2 weeks to 3 months. If you're selling into mid-market, your average sales cycle is 4 months to 8-9 months. And if you're selling enterprise level software deals, you're looking at 9, 12, government could be 24 months. So if you want to get your first 1,000 clients, you need to understand how long it's going to take to close them. And then you need to balance that out and build it. Because if you're doing enterprise and you think that you're going to close 50 clients in 30 days, you're absolutely crazy. Set realistic expectations for your markets. And when you sell as a founder, you prove that there's scalability. One of my favorite things to talk about is the value of your brand, right? And I just said, hey, we're not Nike. So what does our brand do? Do we have one? How would you describe your brand? Right? What is its purpose? Do you have a personal brand? if you don't know or you can't answer all these questions, let's take a quick step back. All right. There's two sides of the brand, personal and professional. When we start a new business, put your website out, get your assets out there, small traction. But you as a founder probably have a good network, right? Especially if you were VP at a large organization. Get your personal brand working as a new founder early. Engage your network. Talk about your projects. Talk about your journey. I had a client that I worked with that was not doing this. And I pushed him to post and engage every day for 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, he scheduled 10 new meetings that netted 2 clients, because people in his network that weren't seeing or didn't know that he started a new business were like, oh shit, this is amazing. I want to be a part of this. We have spent years of our lives building relationships. Leverage them. And then connect and reconnect with those that are in your industry that could be finding what you're doing useful or helpful, or connect the dots for you. And one way to do this, simple way, drive personal connections to your professional by a simple message. So for example, LinkedIn. If you start a new business and you want to drive eyeballs to the professional side, but you also want to keep that personal relationship, it might be something as simple as, after I send Christina a message to connect with me, she connects, I might send her a message saying, hey, Christina, thanks for being a part of my network. It's very important to me to have a great network. If you are at all interested in what I do professionally, here's the link to my company page. We just launched 2 months ago. And if there's any questions or interest, I would be happy to answer. Otherwise, if you're interested in what I'm doing personally, or we've never connected and you just want to chat and get to know me, here's my Calendly link. Otherwise, if not, thanks for being a part of my network. Let me know how I could be of service. So then you're driving that personal relationship that you have with them, or connection. You're pushing them to that professional, so they start understanding who your brand is, and they start tying the loops together of who you are and what you do in the company that you run. This is something that most founders miss. Tie these loops together and watch those first 100 clients come in, first 1,000 clients start coming in from places that you didn't expect. Some of my favorite ways for driving our brand and creating the value of our brand, both personally and professionally, is creating videos. We get hit with tons of content. Create dynamic videos from you as a founder to the business that you're running. I can't tell you the value of having a well-written blog with great content. Again, provide value. We all have 6 degrees of separation. There's a concept or thing called social selling. It takes time, but it's what most of you have currently if you're starting a new business or wanting to start a new business. You have a network, you have relationships, you have people that believe in you, or you have people that have people in their network that would buy from you within 6 degrees of separation. And you can turn any cold prospect into a warm just by Googling them, looking up what kind of content they post, look at the conversations, engaging in the conversations they have online. You should never go into a meeting and not know who you're about to talk to. It's easier now than ever to find information on people. Leverage that. Understand your brand channels. Tools like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that's where you focus on engagement. Engage with prospects. Engage with companies you want to work with. Engage with potential clients. Tools like YouTube, your website, your blog. This is where you drive great value, meaningful content that you can share. You need to know your audience. You need to add value, be consistent, be authentic, and make it memorable. If I had one key takeaway for how to drive your first 1,000 clients that you won't hear anywhere else, you can go Google this stuff, but it's engage. every day, pick 5 prospects and engage with their content somehow, some way. Not just like cool, not clicking the like button, but hey, Rob, really enjoyed the presentation you gave. I think what you said about XYZ was super impactful. Appreciate you sharing. Love to learn more from you. Something like that, right? Creating engaging content or valuable comments on people's content. 1, engages with the prospect, but 2, anyone else that engages with that content is going to see that. And they're going to see that you're a player in the space. And they're going to see that you run a business that cares about furthering good conversations, good content, and engaging. Why is anyone going to buy from you or engage with your brand if you're not willing to engage and create value to other brands? So my challenge is every day, engage in 5 pieces of content to move your business forward. Let's get your first 1,000 clients. Research. What are your target buyers' passion? Use this to build rapport. You could find this on social, right? I used an example one time when I was talking with Christina and the team at School of C about how I noticed that she went to the World Fair in Dubai and got to be involved in some really amazing innovation conversations. And I was like, I wanted to pick her brain about it. I'm sure there's people that wanted to buy from her that did the same thing. You never know. And there's ways that you can live it. If I was wanting to sell to her, like, hey, I saw you were in Dubai a couple weeks ago. How was that? It seems so amazing. I'm so jealous, right? Get her to open up, talk about this whole experience of Dubai. And next thing you know, she's going to feel like you have a rapport. When you start getting into the business conversation, it's going to be smoother and more effective. This allows you to create and interact and allow us the connection path to turn warm. And it shows them what makes you different, right? Actions speak louder than words. Engaging, taking time to know who they are and what they care about, and asking great questions stands you out above the competition. If you do get the opportunity to get a client on the phone, right, and you're in that sales process, and you want to ensure that you can get them through the process to close those first deals, set an agenda on every call. Why? It sets the tone. In the invite, put in what the agenda is going to look like. It invites interaction and confirmation from your prospects, giving them a hard commitment to speak with you. And you can give time and space for understanding and questions. How to do that? First thing you're going to do is intros, right? If you want to do a short product demo, here's your chance. I always like to switch the short product demo to after questions and say, hey, I'm going to ask you 5 to 10 specific questions about XYZ. So I'd love your thoughts. And then I'll show you a short product demo and then we'll talk next steps, right? And setting an agenda, you invite them to, at every step of the way, to also interact and engage with you, which makes the ability to move them to the next stage and close them as a first client that much higher. There's a couple of assignments in here, asking yourself a couple questions about how to move the needle forward. If in the next 2 weeks we have done this, we'll move our business forward and focus on. These are 2 things that I want you to do as a new founder and you're trying to get those first 1,000 clients. At the end of every week, you should be reevaluating and asking yourself this question, right? Because it allows you to set goals and drive things forward. Give you 17 tips and tricks here in those first clients. Treat them like royalty. Your first 1, your first 10, your first 100 clients are important. Treat them like royalty. Only 11% of people do this, and it's ask for referrals. If you have early clients that are investing in your business in your first 1,000, and they love what you're doing, you're treating them like royalty, they're going to tell people about you. Only 11% of salespeople ask for referrals. If you get those early clients, hey, Rob, appreciate you working with us. And it seems like you're happy with our service. Do you know of anybody else in your network that would benefit from having a conversation with us that could be potentially leverage our technology to better their companies? Ask. I promise you, ask. Engage in your current network and let them drive it for you and expand your network. Hey, Christina, who are 5 people in your network that I should be talking to or I should be connecting with around these topics? You want to get those first 1,000 clients, take the extra step to do this. And these slides after, these are all tools and resources for you to use. These are things that you can be using for competitive analysis, lead generation, outreach, manage your pipeline. I put some amazing sales and founder resources for you to look at on where to find information and data. Customer discovery, when you actually get a client on a call, these are some books to read and some articles on how to manage great discovery. I'd love to go into a whole masterclass on discovery, but we don't have time today. And then some of my amazing books that I think every entrepreneur founder should read. So that is the first part of the session here, and the key things to think about and how to gain your first 1,000 clients. 1, define a target market. Remember, riches and niches. Don't try to take on the whole ecosystem. Test. Reach out, connect, communicate, and test. Build your brand. Work with your brand. You've already developed a great ecosystem. Leverage that ecosystem. Your first 1,000 clients, everyone thinks your first 1,000 clients should come directly from your network, and I think that's wrong. It should be a split. You need to go cold. People who don't know you, engage them and get them rolling. Because if they're all your first 1,000 clients or your first 100 clients are all from your network, they're all going to want some sort of discount. So you balance it. Get your first, use your network to get a couple clients to gain traction and momentum. Build out this cold pipeline. Start creating eyeballs and driving this, because all these connections are going to have connections in between. So do both sides of it, because they will come full circle. And once it comes full circle, that's when the fire starts happening. That's when you get 10 to 20, 20 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 500, and 500 to 1,000. And once you kind of hit those first 1,000 clients, and for some businesses, you're never going to even have 1,000 clients, right? It may only be 500, depending on what market and the size. But once you get those first ones, it becomes easy because you have brand recognition, because you have content out there, because you spent time, energy, effort in providing value into the ecosystems that you serve, that business will come back tenfold. So those are the things that you should be investing in to get your first 1,000 clients. And I'm happy to chat further with anybody about that. All you have to do is connect with me, and I'm happy to chat further. Next, let me pull up. All right, excited to chat a little bit about the School of C before we get into Q&A. I think this, okay. Can we see this, Christina? We're good? Can you see that? Okay. So excited to talk a little bit about School of C, and I've been working with them for quite a while now. And so School of C is a C-level program. It's developed by Starta VC, which I've been working with Starta since 2018, been a part of their program, and they are absolutely amazing in creating large ecosystems. And what the School of C is, it's not an MBA, it's not a startup accelerator. It's something completely unique. Students will work on not academic cases, but real-time tasks with startups, leveraging into this network. They're going to be testing hypotheses in practice in real time. They're going to be working with other amazing folks in the ecosystem that either want to start up a business or have startups that can come together and teach you how to do this forward. It's a people-centric program. Ideal students for the program: those that are looking to jumpstart their career in tech and they want to test themselves in executive positions of a startup. They are executives in offline businesses. Ah, what happened? Sorry. There you go. They're executives in offline business and corporations that want to learn how to build innovative businesses and attract investments. And they want to learn how startups work out from the inside, right? If they're venture capitalists, so they can invest and advise more effectively. What does the program offer? A lot of things, a lot of opportunity, solving challenges of startups from the startup VC ecosystem, which I work for about 12 accelerators. I can tell you the startup is one of the best in the world. That's a 360 business perspective through the lens of CEO, CPO, CMO, all the chief level roles, and how to build the right teams early and how to scale. It offers expertise in launching your startup in the international markets from scratch. Previously in my life, I used to live in Milan, Italy, and I worked for a B2C commerce startup that was about 12 months old, doing 5K MRR. I came in as their head of content and brand. I helped scale them globally and going from 5K MRR to 100K MRR, monthly recurring revenue, in less than 6 months. And through that, I got to sell to every country around the world that I was legally allowed to sell into, which allowed me to come to New York City through an accelerator program. So I've been through these accelerator programs. I helped raise over $1 million in investment. I've helped companies raise over $15 million in investments in my time. Connections with successful entrepreneurs and investors in the US and in Germany, support of mentors from around the world, especially the US, opportunity to get jobs at different startups within the community. And 1 month offline in New York or Berlin, hosted by Startup VC. And I love Berlin, but New York City is pretty awesome too, if you ever want to come. And as you all saw, I'm a fan of whiskey. I will take you out for a good whiskey if you decide to join and come along. What is the Startup VC ecosystem? It is all about find, foster, fund. We have the School of C, which is the business and tech school, actively employing a practice-based approach. We have the accelerator program in New York that helps companies launch into the US market. Absolutely amazing program. Start a Capital, which I think is super cool. It's a venture capital fund that invests in pre-seed and early stage companies. And then they have a co-investment platform called Liquivest, which is so amazing that not only is Startup looking at the one side of helping companies scale and succeed, they have the opportunity to invest and create investment opportunities for those that come through the program. And that's what makes the Startup VC ecosystem so different than anything else on the market. So what does the program look like? Well, it kicks off in January with the investors relations roadmap. We go into testing product hypothesis in February. And then March, we start talking about building our MVP and marketing and sales, which is where I love to get involved and talk all things deep sales. And then April, more marketing, sales, and starting to talk about how to fundraise early. And then networking, pitching, and sales in May with our demo day starting in May. The first 4 months are all online, followed by that 1 month, which, not gonna lie, for those out there, May is a perfect time to come to New York City because the snow and the cold is starting to get gone, the weather is starting to get warm, sunshine. It's just an amazing time in the city. Not that I'm trying to be impartial, I know there's Berlin is an amazing opportunity as well, but just saying. Some of our amazing VC startups that have come through the program. Sigmund AI, Stringers Hub, Merch 38. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is Merch 38 that I'm wearing. My personal brand, all my gear is Merch 38. Great company out there, Siren Aerospace, Weege, Whelp. In fact, just recently, as we get down, come here a second, it's on the next slide. In our batch 21 results, we had 2 existing startups scale and launch in 5 months. We've had 3 startups launched by C-level students during the program. And we've had 2 strategic challenges of Stringers Hub and Weesh tackled by students. And these are some of the companies that you can come in and join and work for as you come through the program, which is amazing because these companies are awesome. We've had some amazing graduates. For the first one on here, Anastasia Bakhtina actually just spent time with us in New York City and has had some amazing success with closing some first clients, creating strategic partnerships, and taking everything that she has learned and putting into practice. The big win here that you see with School of C is that you get to put into practice. In fact, she's tripled her revenue of the company just in the last few months. And those are big time opportunities. And if you look at Edward and Artem and Anatoly, they all have some amazing stories and amazing successes since they left the program. Next steps, if you're interested in learning more, get your phone out, take the QR code, fill out the form, go through the selection process, and join us in January. If you have questions, the whole team is here to answer, and it's an amazing opportunity. So, appreciate you all for listening to me for the last 45 minutes. I think you've heard from me enough, but I'll open up the Q&A on School of C questions or the masterclass questions. If you've got any, I'll let you, Christina, kind of moderate that moving forward.
Thank you so much, Rob. It was not only interesting, but really informative masterclass, providing us some beneficial knowledge to improve our marketing and sales skills, personal brand as well. Thank you. And I guess our audience enjoyed it really, really much. Let's now move to the questions part. So guys, please write your questions in the comments section if you are on Facebook and YouTube. All right, here we go. So we have a few questions. And first one, when a startup team has limited resources, how should they approach content creation for raising credibility, as you mentioned?
That's a great question. I mean, even with limited resources, you can find great cheap options for content creators on Fiverr and Upwork. But if you don't want to do that, blocking a little bit of time off for yourself to create some content. It doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be a lot. Like I said, you can go to the market, find 10 articles or 10 topics that people are talking about in your space and kind of create around that. And short to medium size, you don't have to be super long. So there's always different ways, but content creation is tough because you have to put energy and effort into it. So if you have short funds and you don't want to get an iWorker or Upworker, you need to put a little bit of time, energy, and effort to do that from your perspective as well.
Thank you. And next question, what is the average conversion rate for B2B and B2C cold outreach?
Yeah, B2B averages is around, a good campaign is 40%, average is around 20 to 30%, but 20 to 30% average is more, I would say, established. So you're probably looking around 10 to 15%. And that's, when I say conversion rate, let's break that down. You're looking at a 20 to 30% open rates with a 5% response rate. That's a 1 to 2% conversion to call. As you scale that up, you're looking at 5% of your outreach should convert to calls. So if you think you're doing about 1,000 outreach per month, eventually once you get going, you should get about 20 to 50 calls a month from that outreach. But that takes time. That's 6 to 12 months down the road. You want to embrace low conversion. Early on, low conversion is a good thing. Why? Because it means that there is some activity happening and you can test against that. And as you grow and scale, you see that conversion rate goes up. No brand out the gate is going to have high conversion rates. I wish I could say that's how it's going to be. We get hit with 10,000 messages a day. Embrace low conversion. Don't try to get to 30, 40, 50% open out the gate.
Mhm.
That's why you test small and grow out. B2C is different because B2C, you're not really going straight email campaigns. You can, but you tend to do more kind of paid ads and you have a different kind of conversion rate. So it's tough on B2C to kind of give that because a lot of times you're not doing as much email, but I would say it's probably still similar, 20, 30%.
Yes, indeed. And how much time should I spend developing my brand as founder?
Well, let's put it this way. Your brand as the founder is bigger than your brand as the company, and you're going to get more conversion and conversations with your founder brand than your company brand. So I'd spend a little bit of time doing it. As far as time, energy, and effort, I take 15 minutes every morning to comment on 5 things a day. And then I spend 1 hour a week on Fridays creating content from the next week. So I spend 2 hours total. You don't need to spend a lot of time, but a little bit of time because most founders are spending 0 time. So take 15, 20 minutes a day to comments and add new connections and, take an hour a week and create 1 to 5 pieces of content, depending on what you can get done in that hour of time. Block it off. Don't make it a overly big deal. No more than 2 hours to get started or less.
I understand. Thank you. What is the best way to gain credibility on a new market?
Yeah. Engaging in conversation. 100%. Gary Vee did this years ago when he started a wine business. He didn't know much about wine, so he got on Twitter and he engaged in a lot of conversations. He asked questions, he learned, he commented, he engaged. The quickest way to gain credibility is that I can go on LinkedIn right now, for example, and engage in 5 pieces of content and not create a single post and still have 1,000 people look at my profile. Why? Because they see my face and my name engaging and having valuable insights. Engaging, hands down, is the best way to create credibility in a new market. Go engage in conversation with people talking about these things right now.
Yes, thank you. And the next question, how to choose your niche market clients?
Yeah. That is a great question. And it comes down to who are you solving the pain for? And then if you're like, well, Rob, we can service these 4 different markets. Okay, so test each one of them. Reach out to about 250 people in each market, test, see who's getting more responses, see who gets further in the funnel, and then start, testing down. You can test a little wide before you go deep. But once you kind of get 1 or 2 that make sense, then you want to go deep with those 1 or 2 and you put the others on pause. You can come back to those later. So depending on how many different markets you can service, test, and then decide what's going to be the quickest path to going deep and really developing that one market.
Thank you. And next question, is the way from 0 to 100 and 1,000 clients different than the way from 10,000 and 100,000 clients?
Yeah, I mean, your 0 to 1,000 is different because you have to create so much credibility early. And then your early clients are what's going to make or break you in the fact that you've got to treat them well. You've got to make sure things work for them. They've got to be able to review you well, give you a good score. Because once you get those 1,000 clients and you get a number of positive reviews and people talk about you and refer you, scaling from 1,000 to 10, 10,000, 100,000 gets easy, right? And that next level from 10 to 100,000, it may be different products, it may be a new line of business. So you may have to restart, but you already have credibility from what you built in the first, 1,000, 10,000 clients. So it always becomes easier. There's always going to be similar challenges if you're going to do new markets. So if you develop a market, say in Germany, and you're doing 5 million ARR and you come to the US market, it's not going to translate well. You're going to have to start from the scratch and really build. So it depends on what does that scaling look like, and is it changing markets, changing segments? But the thing is, you have traction to build upon, and you have more of a story and success to build upon that you didn't have in that 0 to 1,000, which makes 0 to 1,000 such a tough spot to be in. But it's what's most fun about it. You get to really take time to develop and define who you are and evolve as a company.
Thank you. Next question about your personal brand. What is your strategy to develop your own personal brand as Rob Napoli?
I've been figuring that out for quite a few years. In fact, I wrote a book on this called The Social Soul, Mastering Your Personal and Professional Brand, that you can find on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It ships out in January. What I do is I listen, I talk to the market, I engage with tons of communities and learn about what are the challenges entrepreneurs face. And I create content around that. I spend 20 minutes every day engaging online on LinkedIn. Usually LinkedIn is my biggest channel. I have a TikTok, Instagram, all of them, but LinkedIn's my big one. I spend an hour on Friday. I plan out 5 reels, 5 TikToks, 3 LinkedIn posts, and 1 video. I shoot it all on Friday afternoon, and I ship it out next week. I schedule it on Buffer. I took December off from creating a lot of content because I've been doing a lot of holiday stuff and trainings and whatnot. Plus, there's going to be some new announcements coming in January 2022 with the brand. But that's it. I spend 20 minutes a day engaging, and I spend an hour a week creating. And then I'll create on the go and stuff like that. But that's kind of what I do on a weekly and daily basis to move my business and my brand along right now.
Great, thank you. And last question, how to get the attention of industry professionals and experts so that they could mention your startup?
Yeah. If you want to get their attention, you need to give them value, and whatever the value that may look like, whether that's engaging, whether that's superior product or service, whether that's having them join you on a podcast or go on a podcast. How you get their attention? Great value. Give value to them. And I promise you, if you take care of others and you give them good value, they will talk about you and they will share that with other people. So give value, and whatever that looks like, whether that's content, conversation, support, engagement, etc. And that's how you get people talking about you.
Thank you. And one more question. What do you value in the School of C approach the most?
I love, to be honest, it's the fact that there's so much hands-on opportunity to really test hypotheses and practice. Being an entrepreneur, starting a business is hard. It is. There's plenty of people on social that are like, oh, here's how you do 7 figures in 30 days or, all these different things. Building a business is tough. And it's tough to do it alone. Having a community around you, having the opportunity to test hypotheses and practice with other great people and work with other startups and see it happening ahead of time as you're building your own ideas is something that I wish I had before I built my first 2 companies. And it's, honestly, is my passion is to give back and help other entrepreneurs scale. So being able to do that in real time, there's no program out there like it that allows you to basically create a startup before you build your own startup and get that experience and test and make those mistakes in a controlled environment. So that's what I value most with the program.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. See you in January in our program. Have a good day, a good week and great holidays, Christmas.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Christina. Thank you so much for having me on and having me join here today. And to everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. I hope you found value in it. Feel free to connect with me. Let me know you heard me here. And if you have questions, shoot me a note. Happy to have a conversation, whether it's LinkedIn, Telegram, email, all that information should be given to y'all. And I'll make sure to get this deck to you, Christina, so you can share it with whoever asks. And have a wonderful holiday season, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.